Hello, welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, comment, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We would love to hear your ratings of the movies and shows we review.
Email us your audio file to recappingpodcast@gmail.com and we will play it during the show.
Or DM us on Instagram and we will post and read it on air.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
OMG, Delora. We have surpassed 1,000 downloads.
I have the biggest smile on my face right now. Like, OMG. Wow. Wow.
Let the church say, yay, man. Okay? Listen.
I mean, in 4 months.
In 4 months. This is episode 20, guys. We cannot even find the words to express how much we so appreciate every single listen, every comment, all the feedback, all the love and support we've gotten. Because Laura and I literally started this based on our love of talking about pop culture and TV and movies, and hoped that someone was interested in hearing what we had to say.
Exactly. Someone to, listen in to our girl talk, essentially. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
We do have a great comment that we had posted on Apple Podcasts that we wanted to read off. It is from 415 Sal. I love normal people so much, and this is the first podcast I've heard after listening to many where the host really understood the show and dissected it in a smart, thoughtful, and non-flippant way. Plus, they are funny. We'll be listening to more episodes, especially Bridgerton. These two just get it! Exclamation point. Listen, 415 Sal, we do not know who you are, but we love you.
Thank you. Love you.
Appreciate you.
Mean it. Always and forever, Ashley.
XXOO. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Keep the feedback, the comments coming. We'll continue to read it off each week as we get it. And again, guys, over 1,000 downloads. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Dolores, new month, girl. And it's Happy Women's History Month. We went straight from Black History Month to Women's History Month. How you feeling?
Ma'am. We winning. We stay winning.
All I do is win, no matter what. Hey. Also, girl, it's been nearly a year since these COVID lockdowns went into place. This week what the benchmark was for me? It's so crazy. I literally saw a promo on TV for an event I went to last year that the United Way did, and it is the last event I went to on the last normal day that I had. And I saw that promo, and it's going to be virtual this year, and I was like, oh my God. Wow. It's been a whole year.
It's unreal. I have no words because this past year is just 2020 was an interesting year even before the lockdown.
Yeah.
But 2021 is off to an interesting start as well. But
say the least.
but honestly, just looking back at this past year, I have to admit I have gone through the emotional roller coaster of COVID-19, okay, being in the house, in the house board, okay, saying, okay, let me watch a couple of shows here and there, to like, what is really going to be happening by the end of this year? Girl, I shaved my head because I'm just like, fuck it.
And you look good, honey. You look so good.
Thank you, mom and dad. But girl, okay, it's been a year. And then you had the bright idea to say, hey, let's finally do this thing we've been talking about for
years.
For years. And then
yes.
Here we are, Ashley.
I know. I mean, it's wild because I remember the day that we got told at work, like, you need to leave a half a day. We're not coming back into the building. I was thinking like, oh, it's going to be a week, 2 weeks, cut to nearly a year later.
Girl.
And I could not have imagined everything that happened, not just with COVID, but as you're saying, everything else that has been happening in the world. I mean, it feels like I've aged. And sometimes I look at myself in the mirror like, are we still only, is this really only been a year? Because it feels like 5 sometimes. But I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for every family member, every friend, every moment. Delora, when I tell you I'm cherishing just going outside and looking at flowers right now, like that's where I'm at in life, Yes. I'm cherishing the flower blooms. And I hope that even if we return to some level of normalcy, I'll never stop appreciating the small things at this moment in life taught me.
Never. I hated the term when I first heard of it, grounding. And then I was like, this is such a woo-woo thing to say. It's like, okay, you're going outside. Okay. But I appreciate it. Like, it's like, okay, let's go outside and walk in the grass with my bare feet because I need to be centered.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. One day I just opened my garage. I literally just stood there, took a deep breath of air, closed my garage and went back in the house. Because I just needed that moment,
Absolutely.
I'm sure so many people can relate. But again, I have so much gratitude for this life that I've been
Girl,
able
we
to
here.
live.
We're still alive.
Absolutely. Amen. Hallelujah.
And, knocking on wood and the blood of Jesus, we haven't gotten sick. And that is a miracle.
Absolutely, Laura. Let me knock on some wood too, girl. Okay, y'all knock on some wood with us as y'all listening to this. Okay, but yeah, let's move out of that, girl, because we have some hot topics to talk about this week.
Let's go.
We had other things we could have discussed. Chris Harrison and his sort of apology.
Girl,
maybe an apology.
Michael Strahan said it best, saying that it was shallow.
Okay, I'm gonna let Michael Strahan's words be the final ones.
I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said.
Okay. But instead, we're gonna do a little bit of our recap because we texted, I think, almost the entirety of the show for the Golden Globes that aired just this past Sunday.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about our favorite moments in the fashion, but let me just hit some of these notable wins first, girl.
Yes.
Chadwick Boseman, as predicted, won Best Actor in a Drama Motion Picture for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Well deserved.
Yes, all the applause. If we had the applause on our track, we would play it right now.
It's even painful for me to say this, but to hear his widow and her acceptance speech, girl, I cried.
Yeah.
Tears.
Yes.
Real tears.
That was a top moment, not a favorite because obviously it was so sad, but top
so
end.
Sad.
As I text you, her grace and humility and ability to really take these moments and shine despite everything that has happened, despite the fact she's lost her partner, that strength, I don't know where it comes from, but kudos to you.
Ashley, I want to say this really quick. One of my favorite podcasters, Demetria L. Lucas, she said it best. She said that, when you marry someone, obviously you want to make sure they got good credit. But you want to marry someone who's able to preserve your legacy when you're gone. And I was like, whoa.
No, that's facts. That's facts. Because you can tell that was a beautiful partnership and pairing, right? He chose the right woman. And I heard Denzel talk about how much he felt that she really took care of him and looked after him. And he was like, you better marry that woman. That girl. You better marry that woman. That's a good one. Okay, well, again, well-deserved. Knew it was coming. You guys check out our recap of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom if you have not already.
Yes, please.
Andra Day. Best
Girl.
Actress in a Drama Motion Picture for the United States versus Billie Holiday. We will get back to that.
We will.
That was a moment that took me down because I was like, Andra,
yes.
I'm so happy for you.
You know, I loved the joy across Viola Davis' face when she saw that she won. It was like that reaction of, at least it was one of us. Like,
a win for you is a win for the community, right?
And it's always been that way. Always.
Did you see when Regina King realized she was in the same hotel?
Girl, yes.
Oh my God! Like I'm getting chills.
On our stories. That was.
Did you? Okay,
beautiful.
Perfect. Guys, are you following us on Instagram? Because we have a lot going on Instagram on the regular basis.
Especially our stories. We keep you up on the latest and greatest in Hollywood.
Yes. We will get back to that though, because we're going to microdose the United States versus Billie Holiday today. But I was floored. This is her first role. She was incredible. So Chloe Zhao won Best Director of a Motion Picture for Nomadland, which also won Best Motion Picture Drama. I mean, it was a historic time for the number of women who were even nominated in this category. So to see her win, also felt her speech was so powerful.
Yes. And I really didn't appreciate them trying to,
rush her.
First of all, it was like the same way I felt when they did that to Halle Berry. It's like, do you realize this is a historical moment?
Exactly.
Give this woman her time. Not only for her being a woman, but an Asian woman. Like, give her time.
Do that on Jason Sudeikis, okay? Because
Ashley,
we're going to get back to that too.
Him and his doggone hoodie.
Oh my God. We're going to get back to that too. Daniel Kaluuya, Best Supporting Actor in a Motion Picture for Judas and the Black Messiah. That's another moment because y'all better have given y'all better have given that man his airtime. Okay.
First of all, for that to be the first award of the evening and they had technical difficulties, I was like, oh no. Like, if this is
here we go.
First of all, at this point, we've had numerous awards, done remotely. And if the Golden Globes was so far, they already are behind with their actual Hollywood foreign press.
As we know.
But don't tell me you're behind on the technology too, to where we were going to have glitches throughout the whole night. Luckily, that was the only glitch of the night. But
they fixed that real quick.
Don't do me dirty.
Yeah, they fixed that real quick. And then John Boyega won Best Supporting Actor in a series, miniseries, or motion picture made for TV for Small Axe.
Yes, it's an Amazon Prime series of movies by McQueen.
Wow.
Yes.
One of our faves that I listed at the end of our 2020 episode, Schitt's Creek, won Best Musical or Comedy Series, as well as Catherine O'Hara winning Best Actress in that category. Loved it.
Did you think Kelly Cuoco was going to get it?
No, I did not. I mean, I personally really enjoyed The Flight Attendant. I told you that what she was up for, but was her performance stronger than Catherine O'Hara's over the series of Schitt's Creek? Absolutely not. Because again, Schitt's Creek is done. Schitt's Creek is getting awards after its full body of work.
Exactly. Honestly, the momentum didn't happen until these last, 2, maybe 3 seasons? So,
yes.
The awards are happening now, the final season. So super happy for them. And can we talk about how, I'm sorry, my boo Dan.
No, you mean our boo. That
impeccably.
Quaff. I told you that. I said he is coiffed to the gods. Like, I could not handle it.
Head to toe, baby. Head to toe. Okay. What was that color? Was it yellow, a green?
It was like a gold. I feel like he was a statue, and he was an award. He was our award that night because I love Dan Levy so much.
Always.
The Queen's Gambit. Again, if you have not listened to our recaps, because we had part 1 and part 2, won Best Miniseries or TV Film, and Anya Taylor-Joy showed up and showed out, first of all, as Best Actress in Miniseries or TV Film. Okay?
Yes.
Finally, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that when we get to best looks. We have not gotten there yet. I know I'm being long-winded. I apologize. Soul, our last recap, guys. Best Original Score and Best Animated Feature Film.
Amazing. First Black lead in a Pixar film.
Yes.
And they win this award. It's well deserved. Again,
Absolutely.
I think compared to the other movies in that category, you know, that one spoke to our soul, literally.
Literally, as Shamika said last episode,
Yes.
soul spoke to the soul. Okay.
Sure did.
All right, now hit me with your favorite fashion moments from the Globes.
Girl. Okay. Anya.
Yes.
Her style is La Roche. He also designs or styles Zendaya. Priyanka Chopra, Ariana Grande. So he has impeccable taste, and that long dramatic blonde hair with that green custom Dior,
yes,
girl. And she was just flawless. Second favorite, Regina King.
Okay.
Girl, her stylist, I actually know one of them. I actually know both of them. Micah is a friend of mine from college, and they styled Tessa Thompson. They've styled the lead of the new Disney movie coming out. What is her name? She's from the Star Wars movies. Anyway, they are amazing stylists. She's my number 2 because Regina King is always flawless to me.
Yeah.
And it is not because I'm biased. Because she's
not at all
fire. Okay. And then number 3 for me, honestly, is Dan. I mean, those are my top 3. How about yours?
Okay. Tiffany Haddish. Absolutely. That Alberta Ferretti.
I forgot.
Custom.
La Roche also styled her too.
It was everything.
You know what did it for me, for Tiffany? First of all, she's never looked better. And I hate to say it like that, but you know,
I mean, first of
she
all,
looked
we
like
hope
$1 billion. Okay?
We hope we only continue to look better and better.
It's the blonde hair for me.
It was. She looked amazing.
I mean, first of all, she's never come off as a fashionista. I mean, I know she's worked with him before, but her looks have never was on this level. This is like A-list.
You know what it gave me vibes of was Whitney Houston in that beautiful scene in The Bodyguard where she had on like that crystal dress. Like that's the first thing that I thought of was that movie and that scene. And I was like, Tiffany, the body is banging, the dress is banging, the hair is banging,
glowing,
the melanin is popping. Common giving you that good love. That's all I know.
I guess. You know how I feel about that relationship.
Delora, he has to be. Okay? He has to be.
Is Common a prize?
I love Common. I love Common.
After he's been with Serena, Kerry Washington, Erykah Badu, the list.
We not young. That's the thing. Common is not he's not a teen. He's not a 20. He's not a 30. We've lived life.
You know, Common was my boo for many years. I'm just saying. But after the 5th Celebrity, it's kind of like, what are we doing? What's the goal?
I still love
obviously not marriage.
I mean, I still love so Common. So I think he's giving her that good love.
Thank you.
Anya Taylor-Joy is on my list too, because there's no doubt that she was fucking fierce. Okay, the hair, the dress, everything. And I'm just such a fan of her poise. Like she has old Hollywood glamour. Yes, she's just fabulous. And then my last one was Gal Gadot, because that Givenchy dress, the flow, the beauty, the legs, and then to find out, I was like, oh, that glow came because you're pregnant. Oh, I understand why I thought you were so radiant. She's pregnant with her 3rd child. So, you know, everybody, I thought the fashion overall was exceptional for this award show. There's some award shows that I don't think are very good.
I agree. Considering Jodie Foster in her pajamas, Jason Sudeikis in
and that damn hoodie. So speaking of that, let's go ahead and move into best moments or favorite moments. The Jason Sudeikis hoodie and this cringy ass speech that this man gave.
It was bad.
Top moment for me, because it was so bad, it was good, right? It was like, Jason, I think I texted you, I said, was he shocked or high? Because I just could not gauge it.
So for me, my favorite moment was Don Cheadle asking him to wrap his speech up. I was done. And the funny part about it was, some people might have thought that he was joking. I am 100% convinced he was serious.
Oh, for sure. I think he was how all of us were, like, this is horrifying. This is cringy. You don't have anything that you prepared to say.
Nothing.
You're sitting there in a hoodie on the Golden Globes. Like, you just were not ready today.
It looked like he literally rolled out of bed and was like, okay, I'm nominated.
He just came from running an errand. He was just at Whole Foods, and he came home and said, "Oh, right, we got to hop on camera real quick for our guests. We about to do the Golden Globes." Like, you know, it was so good. It was so bad. It was good. But I love Ted Lasso, so that was one thing too. It's like, I actually love this series. Yeah, it was a hidden gem. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I love the series. So I'm glad that he won, but cringy as hell. Daniel, going back to Daniel's mic drop at the beginning of the show that we just talked about, that was another moment for me, Delora.
His speech.
I'm gonna need y'all to let Daniel say his piece, because he could not believe it. I felt all his joy.
Oh, you mean
Daniel at the very beginning?
Oh,
of
Daniel
the show.
Kaluuya. Yes,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
We could have been talking about Dan Levy.
Yes,
no,
sorry.
No.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, but for me, it was John Boyega. After his win, he immediately went to Instagram Live and he was losing his sugar honey iced tea. He was like, yo, I'm in my sneakers. I'm in this house by myself. Yes. He's like, yo, I just want to go to Globe. You know who I would love to hang out with? Both him and Daniel Kaluuya. They seem like they would have like the best time at a party.
Daniel lost me a little bit at the end of his speech with his whatever slang he was talking, that Black British slang. I was like, sir, I don't know what you're saying.
I'm like, this isn't for me.
No, but for sure, I'm super hyped for you. I was super hyped for both of them. I love that John Boyega is doing so much even behind the scenes these days. So excited for both of them. Andre Day winning, Chadwick's win. Yes. My last one, the Jane Fonda speech.
Yes. You know, for people older than us, she's problematic, but she's a shero as far as I'm concerned.
No, she is. She's still getting arrested. She's still out here getting arrested at 83 years young.
I saw a video. It was going around on Twitter. It was her winning her Oscar doing sign language, talking about how they are missing out on closed captioning. I'm like, girl, she's been about this life.
Forever. And I remember watching a documentary of her, I think it was called Jane Fonda in 5 acts or 4 acts or something like that. That was so well done. But after I went back down the Jane Fonda rabbit hole, because I'm just like, you're an exceptional person who has lived such a very multifaceted life.
Yes. And she's she's a privilege. Her dad was Hollywood, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like she had to do any of this, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, still riddled with her mother committed suicide. Neither here nor there. I don't want to go down a whole Jane Fonda rabbit hole.
But she looked amazing. I love how she's embracing the gray hair.
She looked beyond amazing. Beyond. And then she says she's not buying any new clothes. So she's wearing her recycled outfits.
You couldn't tell me.
Right. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop buying clothes if I make it to 83 as well. Okay. Girl. Call me.
Well, the last shady thing I had to say was I'm surprised Jennifer Lopez didn't have anything to do with her little
you sent that to me via text.
You know, everyone who said something to say before her presentation or whatever, you know, because everybody that's a big deal, you know what I mean? Like that movie Monster-in-Law. So yeah.
Yes. Did you have anything else for the Globes before we move into our second hot topic?
Nope. Overall, I thought Amy and Tina did a good job. They weren't the funniest they've ever been for me, but I was kind of like, yo, they're clowning the Hollywood foreign press for not having Black people. And, you know, apparently they knew that was going to happen because they had so many moments where they were like, we're going to have a conversation and talk about why, you know, we can be how we can be better. It's like, you haven't had a Black journalist in 20 years. It kind of feels intentional after a while.
You think? Hello, Bachelor. I'm just saying. It's just, you know, it's so funny. It's so interesting. Every time these things come up and then there's mea culpas and then there's we'll do better and y'all want to tout out every person potentially of diversity y'all have on that stage. I mean, it's just so interesting.
And the last thing I'm going to say to that is when you do get your journalists, be sure you don't run them out because sometimes people don't stay for a reason.
Oh, I'm just the only one. I'm just the token. Okay. Let's move on to our last hot topic. These Dr. Seuss books that are being pulled, 6 of them, basically from what I glean. 6 Dr. Seuss books, including And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street and If I Ran the Zoo, will stop being published because of racist and insensitive imagery. And this is actually coming from the business that preserves and protects Dr. Seuss's legacy.
Yes.
They said it's Dr. Seuss Enterprises, and they said these books portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong. Ceasing sales of the books is only part of our commitment and our broader plan to ensure Dr. Seuss Enterprises catalog represents and supports all communities and families. Delora, I feel like there's been such a debate lately in regards to whether or not these types of things are just a Band-Aid over the real problems, whether this is just cancel culture, or whether or not this is still necessary because racism starts in the home and racism starts as a child, because you're not born racist. You're not born discriminating against other people. So what are your thoughts on this move by Dr. Seuss, as well as just the general thought of erasing or ceasing to sell things that historically have been available to people?
It's so funny. I actually had someone reach out to me, a former coworker, a white woman, a little bit older, in her late 40s. And she was asking me what my thoughts were, because she is feeling like, her walls are caving in because everything is offensive. And it's like, because everything is offensive.
Was that your response?
I pretty much said, well, the items / images in those books were never okay. It's the situation where the minorities depicted in those books. So we're talking Africans, Asians, and Dr. Seuss is notorious for having terribly offensive things for Jewish people as well. Those groups of people either didn't have a voice or their voice wasn't respected. Therefore, they didn't have the ability to be heard, to get these books off the shelves when it first became, available.
Right.
And so because of that, you're feeling like, oh my goodness, cancel culture. No, it's accountability. The publisher realized that these books, those images are not okay. They perpetuate dangerously
racist stereotypes,
negative stereotypes that are harmful to minority groups. And because of that, they are taking the responsibility, taking off the shelves. Now, do I think they should be banned forever? I believe they could be used for higher education. You know what I mean? To talk about its time when it was published, the norms. We always need to be able to look back on those things. But for children to consume, no, because again, if we're
you said that with your whole chest,
with my entire chest, okay, if we are ever to move forward, you have to start with the things you feed your children, and that's through their media diet. That's what they hear. That's what you say. They are sponges, okay?
Yes.
And I just feel like for children, it should not be available, and that ultimately we don't want their understanding of the world to have such a negative, negative imagery. So what do you think about it?
I mean, I think you summed it up beautifully, right? I think it is that whole thought now of like, but oh my gosh, are you telling me everything that I looked at, watched, read growing up was somehow had racist imagery or things in it? Most likely, yes, because societally, we're still at a point where we're trying to eradicate racism. You think back when these books were published, back in the early 1900s and things like that, that there was not inherent racism scattered throughout. So your point, I love your point about, you know, those people weren't in positions of power or weren't respected. And you get fed as a minority to laugh those things off, you know, because it's like, otherwise, can I fight against everything? I can't. So it is a societal shift. And I'm glad that it's making people uncomfortable. It should make you uncomfortable, because change is uncomfortable. We've had to deal with racism and discrimination, all these things forever. So I'm so sorry if you're just now coming to the realization that the system and world that you lived in was inherently racist. It's always been, Chris Harrison. It's always been, to all of these folks who now seem to think that 2018 was acceptable. No, to Black people, to Asian people, to Hispanic people, to any oppressed group, it has never been acceptable. We just had to take it on the chin and bear it up until the point where it became acknowledged that all this shit is wrong.
Ashley, when I tell you, when I found out that Dr. Seuss was a raging racist, it broke my heart. So there's an account on Instagram called The Conscious Kid. They have this wonderful post that really, it's like 10 slides, and it's called Dr. Seuss Anti-Black Published Work. And these aren't all in these children books, but again, he did a lot of stuff outside of those children's books as well, and depicted Black people is, you know, again, nothing wrong with being dark, obviously, but it's the over exaggeration of the lips and the booty and, you know, using the N-word. There was a skit that talked about the Black man being lazy and all those things. It is grotesque. Okay. And then I've seen a couple of his published works about the Jewish people, and girl, I won't repeat any of that, because it is that bad. And so it's heartbreaking for me, because Green Eggs and Ham was the first book I read by myself.
Girl.
One Fish, Two Fish, Red. I mean, these are a part
Classics.
of our lives. And unfortunately, I didn't find this out soon enough, because I have introduced those stories to my daughter. You know what I mean? So this is the legacy, trying to do the work and be proactive so that they don't miss out on billions of dollars. I got this Forbes magazine from last month. Dr. Seuss is the second highest dead celebrity.
They said that in the article that I read that his earnings in 2020 were an estimated $33 million before taxes, right? So, I mean, to your point though, Delora, it is, I understand the thought that there's more important issues going on. I saw D.L. Hughley's post about, hey, we need to stop voter suppression. That's more important. I totally get that. That's valid. But the point is entertainment is powerful. And entertainment is the lens in which some of us have and use to not only live our lives today, but to look back on time, you know? So I think that it's very valuable to reevaluate these works of art. I think it's very valuable to take them and remove them as necessary, because as you said, I don't want to introduce racist material to my children and have them come up in a society and absorb information that's to their detriment. I just don't. So kudos to you for doing that research and realizing it, so that you didn't continue to introduce my adopted goddaughter to that information. So did you have anything else before we move into our microdose?
Nope.
All right, well, let's get into the United States versus Billie Holiday that dropped on Hulu. This is a Lee Daniels film, again starring Andra Day. What did you think overall about this film? I mean, we did a deep dive into a part of Billie Holiday's life that was really impacted by the FBI hounding her and investigating her and trying to arrest her and putting moles into her life to try to trump up drug charges and all sorts of stuff. And I was totally unaware of this history. So tell me your overall thoughts of this film and about Billie Holiday.
So I have to admit, I have not seen Lady Sings the Blues. It is on my list of to do, you know.
I honestly haven't seen it either, at least not that I can remember.
Okay. And I hear so many people talk about how they love the film, how Diana Ross is a vision, and, you know, Billy D is the man. So I I love Billie Holiday from her voice, the uniqueness of her voice, but I did not know this story at all. Mm-hmm. In terms of this film, I will say, I will be positive first, okay?
Okay.
Andra Day was unreal.
Yes.
It was phenomenal.
Yes.
She went in that role. The problem I have is I wish the movie was strong enough to support her performance. And I say that because part of the reason why we're not even recapping this is because I told you, I typically do not like Lee Daniels films.
Yeah.
And I say that because I didn't like Precious. I didn't like Paperboy. That's the one with Zac Efron. I didn't like, I think the only one that I actually liked was The Butler. I think that was the only film I enjoy. And someone said this the other day that I was like, this is well said. He loves, not oppression porn. It's like trauma porn. It's like very depressing.
Yeah.
Like the scene where she is off, she gets off the bus to pee and then she sees the lynching.
Devastating.
It's devastating, but where did this come from? I didn't feel like the movie was cohesive. I feel like there were just a bunch of scenes that was just presented to me, but they weren't threaded with an overarching message. Even her message of, they don't want me to sing the song, they don't want me to sing the song, wasn't as clear as I needed it to be for it to hit home. You know what I mean?
You're talking about with Strange Fruit, because that was the main song
exactly.
that they kept trying to suppress her from singing.
And the last thing I'm going to say is it was her interview, Andra Day's interview she did an interview with Bakari, and she did one with Rachel Lindsay and Van. I can't remember which interview she said this in, but she talked about how the reason why Strange Fruit was such a major deal at the time was because you got to think about it. We're coming out of the minstrel shows, right? So it was all about the happy Negro. I'm a slave, but I'm jolly. You want a pancake? You know what I mean? So her actually singing something that was, something that was devastating,
recognizing the atrocities
in the society, they weren't having it. So honestly, it took me hearing her interviews before me watching it for me to even get what I got out of the film. So what are your thoughts, Ashley?
No, that's a great point too, because you have to think about, well, if this is a person who had no knowledge of this song of Billie Holiday, how would they have received it? And I think that's a valid point to feel like, well, they didn't do a good enough explanation for you to feel that someone coming into this cold would understand the significance, right? The time jumping was definitely, to your point about it kind of being all over the place, that threw me off so much. I understood the overall story. Again, I feel like I got so much out of it just because I was so unaware of this history. I was so unaware of this attempt on her and how, she was handcuffed to the bed while she was dying in the hospital. I mean, it was tragic. I had no idea what this history was. And the FBI obviously have been highlighted in many movies now over the years.
Under Hoover, he hated Black people. He sure did.
We've seen the horrible things that have happened in the history of that organization. But this was just another one that, to your point, Andra Day's performance was stellar. But the idea that Billie Holiday was such a early proponent and gave her life for the fight and for civil rights of Black people in this country moved me. I mean, overall, the film still moved me. And Andra Day's award was so well-deserved. This is her first role.
Yes,
and
ever.
She went all the way there.
She said that she was done with acting, though, because that's how much she gave of herself.
Well, yeah, she talked about the preparation process and how she started smoking. She started doing things she never did. Yeah, just to try to encapsulate this role. But again, she did her thing. Can we just say that she is the second Black woman in history to win a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama Motion Picture? Whoopi Goldberg for The Color Purple 35 years ago was the first.
Well, I will put an asterisk to that. Diana Ross did win something, but it was a different category. But she was, I think, the first Black woman to win anything like at the Golden Globes. Yeah.
Period.
But overall, I the last thing I want to say was, again, it was pretty. Again, the performances were fine. It's just the narrative was confusing, and like you said, the time jumping, I'm like, what is going on?
Yes.
And there was something, what I wanted to say was about the FBI and Hoover. He is just a menacing figure in our Black films, because he was also very prominent in the Black Judas and the Black Messiah, and getting and orchestrating the death of
Fred Hampton.
So
Fred Hampton.
And then the news of Malcolm X recently in the news. It was like the FBI and the New York PD wanted him dead. It's just so much. So much. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's actually quite heartbreaking.
It's atrocious. Like I said, they have been portrayed now the last few years and really shown, because I feel like for a while the FBI in film and television was portrayed as these heroes.
Absolutely.
And so to know more about real history, because I may be Black, but let's be clear, I went to schools where I was not taught many of these things. A lot of these things I'm discovering as an adult.
We are in the information age. Thanks to the internet,
and I'm thankful for Googles and all these things that allow me, and the fact that Black people are now both in front of the camera and behind the camera and able to do all these things that allow us to tell and portray these stories. So to your point, Lee Daniels sometimes tells a tragic tale, but this is one that I was absolutely happy to watch and to have a better understanding for, to have a better appreciation of the one and only Billie Holiday. So
absolutely.
As we
war on drugs starting as far back as the 30s, we know about the war on drugs in the 70s, right?
With crack and everything. Yeah. It was again, for historical purposes, fascinating. Andre Day, stellar. That really wraps up our hot topics and micro doses, Delora. We're about to go to a much lighter note for the recap.
We sure are. To all the boys, the trilogy. I'm so happy. We kind of talked about this actually offline, how the stellar comment that we recently got made me want to listen to our first episode, Normal People, again. And I was raving on how much I love a good romance. And this right here, we're going to be talking about the trilogy, which is a rom-com. So this is even better because we don't have as many tears. But yes, to all the boys. So these three films. So the first film, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, came out in 2018. To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You, came out in 2020. And To All the Boys, Always and Forever, came out this year. This is a Netflix original movie. They're all about an hour, 55-minute film. A quick summary for the whole trilogy, and I got this from Wikipedia. To All the Boys is a series of American teenage romance films based on the trilogy of novels of the same name written by Ginny Han, starring Lana Condor and Noah Centineo in the central roles. The plot centers around Lara Jean Song Covey, a shy teenager who writes 5 letters, ones she's never planned to send, to boys that she has had crushes on. The films show her experiences after the letters are received by the young men. As mentioned before, Lana Condor is Lara Jean Covey. Noah Centineo is Peter Kavinsky. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Jordan Fisher as John Ambrose, who's in the second film. Anna Cathcart is Kitty, who is Lara Jean's little sister. Janelle Parrish as Margot. Aiden as Dr. Covey. If you don't know, you need to know. I've always been
AKA John Corbett.
Let me live, Ashley. Let me live.
Aiden is his character from Sex and the City, guys. In case you've never been familiar.
Team Aiden. Always and forever.
First of all, she didn't deserve Aiden, and I stand by that.
Me and you are on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we are on the same page. Okay. Mm-hmm. Sarah Rayu Blue as Trina. Trizzo Maharo as Lucas. I apologize for these. I'm gonna have pronunciations. Okay, Madeline Arthur as Chris. Emilia Bahrain as Jen. I apologize again. And Israel Broussard as Josh. So over the 3 films, we've had different directors. Susan Johnson was for the first film. Michael Filmonari was for the film 2 and 3. And Ginny Han as the author of the original books. Mm-hmm. All right. So Ashley, these films, the ratings are actually all over the place, okay? The first film received the highest ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, 96%.
I would agree with that.
And for the critics, 86% audience, and Google users, 96%. All right, for the second movie, P.S. I Love You, 75% by critics, 40% audience, 90% Google. And then the final film, Always and Forever, 78% critics, 62% audience, and 88% Google users. All right, Ashley, what's your overall ratings for this trilogy?
Yeah, I gave the overall trilogy a B-. And I have to say, I concur with how those ratings break down. The first film is absolutely my favorite. I've watched the first film multiple times. Yeah. Loved it. It was, but I think I have a problem because I love the beginnings of romances. And this was one, the meet cute, they were so cute. They were so young. They just, it was just such a good introduction to the story. Yes. But subsequently, it kind of fell off a little bit, and we can get into that once we get into the meat of it. But I told you, this is also the first of all the shows we've done and all the films we've done where I actually read the books. So that also informs my grade. So I'll say for right now, and most likely will stand even after our conversation, it is a B- for me.
All right. And I gave this trilogy an A- because I loved it. I enjoyed the rewatch, even though, absolutely loved the first movie. I would have given that an A+ for sure. Mm-hmm. If I was mathematical, I probably should have weighted my score. I'm an analyst at heart. Anyway, the second film, I did not enjoy it the first time around. It was just simply okay, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the third film, I liked, but it was very slow. Yeah. And then the ending, though, made me love it. And I was like, this is a nice bow for the ending for me. Okay. And so that's what saved it for me. But watching it all in order was a joy. So
agreed. I'll say even the second film was much more enjoyable when I watched it right after the first. I was like, it's as if I'm watching this with new eyes. Exactly,
Ashley. Okay, and so with that, we're going to go into our spoiler alert. All right, so any overall overarching impressions of the film, and then you talked about them, having read the books.
Yeah. I think, again, I kind of spoke to it during the grading process of, really loving the first one. It was such a great, cute introduction. The middle felt like the middle. It felt like such a buffer. The end, I realized, and I will talk about this once we get to it, there was some confusion for me between the books and the films. I thought I was mistaken, but I wasn't, about kind of how things wrapped up, and we'll get to that. But overall, it's bubble gum, and I love some bubble gum. Yes. And it brings me joy. The color palette of the film
Can we give a shout out to her wall, her accent wall in her room?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then she was impeccably dressed the whole time.
She was a cutie. She was a
Absolutely.
cutie. And Noah, we have to say that Noah was such a heartthrob when all of this started, right? He became everybody's Netflix boyfriend.
I mean, he was Duke Hastings before Duke Hastings for a while. And
Noah was the it boy.
He kind of fell off a little bit. But my impressions, Lana is a star. She was delightful.
Yeah, Lana is adorable. She's adorable.
Delightful. She was charming. She carried these films as far as
she did. Her and Kitty, because Kitty is my favorite character.
I love Kitty.
Kitty is the real MVP.
and the other thing that the other reason why I love these films is because I am a sucker, obviously, for rom-coms, as I mentioned before, but it just reminds me of being in the same world as The Proposal from 2009, The Wedding Date from 2004.
Oh my goodness.
Lord. And then more recently,
I still watch The Wedding Date like a lot.
When I tell you the first time me and my girlfriends watched that movie, we were on the floor melting.
No, I watched that movie a lot. I have it on DVD and I watch it on streaming like all the time.
And then, of course, Bridgerton, the whole premise of pretending to have some type of union, and then eventually actually falling in love. So,
having an arrangement, as you say.
Yes, ma'am, because I put that in my notes because you know how I do. Okay.
I know you just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So in these films, we are in Portland, Oregon. These kids, again, typical rom-com teenage drama. They are suburbanites. They drive nice cars. Their parents have important jobs. And the homes are amazing. Can we talk about the Covey's home for a moment?
Beautiful.
Goals. Yeah. Goals. And even freaking Peter's truck, that Jeep.
Yeah, I love Jeeps. So I loved his car so much.
The other thing that I loved about these films, because Laura Jane is such a romantic, she's a daydreamer, she's a writer, she's a lover of romance novels. She has an appreciation for the oldies, the 80 films like 16 Candles. She has references like James Dean.
Oldies for her. When she kept hitting me with these 80s movies references, I was like, damn, we get old.
Well, you do realize those movies are still older than us, though.
No, I understand that, but it's still just like you talk about them like the way I think of like Marilyn Monroe films. You know what I mean? This is such a bad, is it? That's why I said, girl, we old. Like y'all talking about this like this is such a bygone era. I'm like, damn, we that old? I was born in 87.
And they have to be careful too because 80 movies are absolutely toxic now. A lot of them have not aged well.
Well, they talked about that. They talked about that with 16 Candles,
Yes.
And I appreciate that an Asian character is able to talk about racism of an Asian character in a film.
Is it funny that it's like it's such a part of our lives that it's like, for me, it didn't even compute. I was like, oh, that's very true. Thank you for saying that. But it's like, yes, that's very true.
Yes.
It's awful how they were depicted in the 80s movies.
Yes.
Like from the Goonies to 16 Candles to even going way back to Breakfast at Tiffany's. Goodness gracious.
Yep.
So we start off with essentially the Covey family coming to a new normal or understanding their new normal. Their oldest sister, Margot, is on her way to college in Scotland. Laura Jane is starting 11th grade and Kitty is starting 6th grade. And Laura Jane is essentially the quintessential middle child in some ways because she's hanging out with her little sister Kitty and she's just like, I had to cancel plans to be here with you watching these old movies.
Kitty was hilarious in that scene.
Yes.
Like even when they were talking about, when their first day of school, she's like, listen, my friends had to rotate because everybody wanted to sit by me. And I'm like, Kitty, you just that popular out here in these streets.
I'm that girl.
Yes. She said, listen, Laura Jean, I am 11 and I had to cancel plans to be here tonight. And you're 16 and I don't think you had anything else to do. Like, she was reading her sister hard.
Really. Exactly.
I loved Kitty.
I did too. And the film does a really good job setting up the protagonist, Laura Jean, because she has this beautiful fabric box in her closet where she keeps letters, fully written letters with address. And I don't think were stamps on those.
No, because that's the one thing she says to Margot later. I didn't put stamps on them. When she's like, why would you write addresses on them if you never wanted to be sent out, Laura Jean? Like, think this through.
Exactly. And so the 5 letters she wrote to are boys she's had really strong, intense feelings for. So the first one, Kenny from camp. Number 2, Peter from 7th grade. Number 3, Lucas from Homecoming. Number 4, John Ambrose from Model UN. And then number 5, Josh. So the problem with Josh is Josh was once her best friend, then turned her older sister's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So this is important because the letters are mailed without Laura Jean knowing. And honestly, I think this is the reason why the first movie is so much fun. I think you had more to chew on, right? So the fallout with each guy approaching her about this letter, of course, the first being Peter Conventi, who is the boyfriend of her frenemy Genevieve.
Yes.
So that dynamic is already complicated, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He confronts her. I love how she kisses him because she saw Josh coming because he had a letter in hand as well. And he was like, whoa, what's going on? And I don't know at that very moment if he and Genevieve were officially broken up, but
They were.
That's right. They were. And she kissed him and he's like, hey, what's going on? And then of course she runs away. And then I love how Lucas finds her in the bathroom and he's like, hey sis, guess what? I don't even like you like that. Okay.
Yeah. I like men, but I appreciate you.
I appreciate the sentiment. And so
of note too, Margot had dumped Josh because she was going to college, right? So Josh is a free agent, but at the same time, that's my sister's ex-boyfriend.
Exactly. And he's confused, like, hey, what's going on? Because you're my friend. And for a while, Laura Jean was a third wheel for her sister and her best friend, Josh. So essentially, Laura Jean and Peter decide to make an arrangement because her biggest goal was to avoid Josh at all costs. And if she was taken, he would be less likely to try to talk to her. And then Peter wanted to make Genevieve jealous, right? Because they broke up.
She dumped him for a college man.
Yes. And so the thing that is common across all of these films is essentially the relationship between Laura Jean and Peter Kavinsky. There's family dynamic and there's always a trip. Sometimes there's multiple trips. And so the trip in season 1 that's significant is the ski trip. And so before we get there, with their arrangement, they have an entire contract that they put on paper. And this scene was so cute. It was so cute. So she was essentially telling him, hey, I do not want you to kiss me. And he was like, well, hey, you kiss me. But she's like, I want to keep my first for my real life boo. And I was like, come through boundaries.
Yes. No, seriously. I respect it.
She was like non-negotiable, and even when she was shy or nervous, she put her foot down, and I love that about her. I love their compromise of like, okay, if we're not gonna kiss, then can I put my hand in the back of your pocket? I'm like, that is such an 80s thing to do, and I love
that was her
everything.
suggestion, and he was like, put somebody's hand in the back pocket. Like, what are you talking about? What era is this?
But when I tell you, it was so cute when it was done in real life, and then he gave her that note and he whispered in her ear, "Good job."
Girl, if my high school boyfriend would have been putting his hand and rubbed it on my booty back in high school in my back pocket, I wouldn't have been complaining. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It was, okay.
And then I love that their rule was no snitching. Of course, they had to show up at each other's.
First rule of Fight Club.
No, there's no Fight Club, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about Fight Club.
And he promised to drive her and Kitty to school because she's a horrible driver. And of course,
let me say one thing about the whole horrible driver thing, because this was of note for me. I'm glad that this material came from an Asian writer, because otherwise I would not have appreciated this stereotypical trope of her being an Asian woman who cannot drive.
I'm glad that you said that, Ashley, because for me, I honestly didn't even think about her being an Asian person that couldn't drive. I just took it as, oh, she's a young girl who probably would rather be reading than driving. You know what I mean? So
I think for me, it's all about who the material comes from, because
that's very true.
It's a trope if it's not from that community in my mind. You know, if a white person have written that, then what are y'all trying to say? That's a trope. What are you doing? But Ginny Han, fine.
The reason why I had a major issue with Malcolm and Marie, because it was like, sir, what are you talking about? The Black experience in Black Hollywood, like
as if you know, yeah.
Anyway, and then so again with their contract, if they make it to the ski trip, they promise to sit together, hang out with each other, and things like that. So,
or other things, because that ski trip, other things happen.
Things does happen. And so essentially it's a lot of cutesy stuff going on in their fake relationship. And of course, we see that Laura Jean catches some feelings. Okay. And so it all comes to head at this ski trip.
They were both catching feelings, don't you think? They were both catching feelings.
But we as an audience was only really privy to I like Laura Jean's perspective. Yes. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Ashley, was for them to have been in this quote unquote fake relationship. Peter and Jen's relationship really bothered me.
Girl, who you telling? The scrunchie. I have in my notes, the scrunchie things really irritated me.
It sure did.
That's her favorite scrunchie. So,
and you let your ex take it?
Exactly. Take it in the bathroom, have it in her hair, and pull it out, whip it out after the ski trip as some type of little token to say, try to make her little point. Like, I think that the disrespect was only tolerated by Laura Jean because of the arrangement, the situation. But as the audience, I felt so frustrated that she never really stood up for herself in those situations, because regardless, to the public, to y'all circle, to the school, y'all are together. So when Jen was talking down, when they made it to the ski trip saying, if you want to, let's go down whatever ski path, and whoever wins gets a hot toddy. All of a sudden, Peter, this and that. Bitch, girl, you better stay away from my man.
Well, the fact that she let her sit next to her man the whole time on the bus.
Why did you not sit next to Peter on that bus, Laura Jean? This man got your favorite yogurt. He went to the Korean grocery store and got your favorite yogurt, Laura Jean. But it was because she did not know how to process having real feelings for her fake boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. And that was fair, because in some ways, what he's like, removing from this narrative if I don't know how to act. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, she felt like, well, are we even on the same page? Are you still trying to? I mean, think about the reality of feeling like, you're only using me to get back with your ex. Do I really have any claim in the game? Do I really have any stake in the game?
Exactly. Well, apparently she had some stake some claim, because the hot tub happens at the skis trip. And honestly, I love the conversation she had with Lucas, and he was like, he's probably waiting for you right now downstairs in the hot tub.
Yes.
She's like, who, for me? He was like, yes, that man likes you, okay? And then she goes down there, and that was, for a teen drama, that was a sexy scene, okay? I was like, yo,
yes,
look at this. Fun fact, they Lana Kondo and Noah both agreed to have a no dating pact, because she said that when they started acting together, she realized that their chemistry was pretty intense. But she was like, I have friends in the industry who started dating their coworkers, and then they break up and still have to play, you know, a couple. She's like, for the sake of the film, that she felt like it was best that they didn't have a real life relationship.
I mean, she has a boyfriend anyway, so I would hope
that she does. But that seemed to come up in multiple interviews when I was looking, you know, up the films and things.
I mean, people stand them so hard when the first movie came out. Like, let's be clear.
I did too. I'm not gonna lie.
I did too. The first film was such a thing at the time. Like I said, Noah became this heartthrob. Their chemistry was palpable.
It was. It absolutely
was. And then that picture that is used for the screensaver, that was a real picture on set.
It was.
That a PA took when they were taking a nap together. I'm like, yo.
And the director, Susan Johnson, loved it so much, she incorporated it in the film, and it stayed with the film all 3 movies.
Girl, that's real chemistry right there. I'm glad her boyfriend wasn't like, listen, we're over, because obviously you've moved on.
Obviously.
You taking naps? Listen, most people don't get to naps till a little while into their relationship. Y'all taking naps?
I'm just thinking about the crotch location. Like, his crotch is exposed. You are on top of it. Like, girl, no.
That was a coupley, we're together nap.
It sure was.
Anyway.
It sure was. So the video. Ashley, so the ski trip was a success. Margot is at home when Laura Jean gets there. She thought it was great, and then she sees this video and she freaks the F out, like she should have. Margot being the big older sister, and one of the things I'm going to mention at this point too is their beloved mother is no longer with them. She had passed away. So I will say the actress Janelle did a really good job in, you know, showcasing big sister vibes. You know what I mean? Like,
I love seeing her play nice too, because she was on Pretty Little Liars.
She was,
and she was not a nice character.
You know, I only watched 1 season of it, and I couldn't handle it because of the bad decision making, and I had to realize, oh, they're teenagers.
Oh, girl, anyway, I read all those books.
Did you?
Ridiculous.
But she also started watching it as an adult, so I was like, yep, I can't do 8 seasons of this. But her sister was on it. She was able to, you know, get the video down, but that didn't mean that, you know, it was all clear, because as soon as Laura Jean goes to school, they have a picture of the video on her locker. I will say I was happy to see Peter speak up for her at this time.
For sure.
As he should have. Bullying. As he should have.
That was flat out bullying.
It was. But we did not know who did this at this point in time. And then
we did.
We did. But it wasn't really exposed. And honestly, they didn't address it until the second movie, but we'll get there. To finish up film 1, Laura Jean finally has this awkward conversation with Josh. And overall, I think it went well. You know, he essentially got an understanding of where she was. He was like, you could have told me. He was like, oh, one of the quotes he said, he's like, you have to tell people how you feel when you feel them. And that was very relevant for her and Peter. And oh, and one of the things that I wanted to mention also is we find out that Kitty was the person who mailed off those letters.
I mean, I knew when I watched it, because you see Kitty after that conversation about Laura Jean, you have anywhere else to be and you're 16. You see Kitty go up to her closet.
Yes.
So I'm like, man, I knew it was Kitty. Dolores, should Laura Jean have given Kitty a gift at the end of the film? Because she was the real MVP.
First of all, Kitty's the real MVP for all 3 films.
No, seriously.
Like, I am 100% serious with this.
Yes. And in this film, not only did she send out the letters, remember she even saved the notes that Peter was writing to her because Laura Jean was throwing them out.
She was, and Laura Jean never read them. And granted, those notes weren't really that spectacular, but I think it kind of showed, it got a little more personable, I guess, as, you know,
she read
the ruse, the arrangement kept, going along or whatnot.
But the point is, imagine somebody you really like or love at this point, if that's what she wanted to say, she felt was writing you like letters. Like, it's just so, it hits different when you have those feelings. You see it in writing. Like, it was just so cute.
It was very cute. And Laura Jean, at the end of this film, decides to get in that car and drive all the way back to school for lacrosse practice, where she wrote Peter yet another letter, and they essentially confess love for one another. And one of the things that I love in this dialogue, I'm cheesing because I love this movie so much. Okay. One of the things we find out is that he went to Jen's room at the ski trip after they had their little rendezvous in the hot tub. And he said that the reason why he was there was because he was telling her that he was in love with Laura Jean.
I think what caught me, especially probably this last time when I was reviewing it for us to recap, is communication.
Girl.
The reason why these moments hit so hard when Jen said stuff to Laura Jean or she found out subsequently is Peter needed to open his mouth and tell her, like, listen, I went to Jen's room last night and here's why.
The fact that he didn't tell her was very shady.
Yeah, communication. You thought it wasn't going to get back to her. You didn't think it was going to be a big deal enough. But, I mean, we have to talk about these things. That was a big deal, sir.
Very big deal, especially when you understand the history of their relationship.
Absolutely. Lost that V card to Jen, all the things.
All the things. And they have a long history, actually. For them to be in 11th grade, they go back middle school, and that's a lot for a young person's life.
And that was Laura Jean's best friend when they were kids. That's why they're now frenemies. Because she's still upset about a little game of spin the bottle back in 7th grade.
Girl. Now that's petty. Okay.
When I tell you I have a situation like that in real life with somebody, and to this day,
stop,
girl.
Over a kid,
I'm gonna leave it there. Over some situations back in like middle school. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not gonna talk trash on the mic.
The only reason, or the only way I would allow this to be okay is if that person turned out to be a genuinely shady person in real life. And I say that to say, sometimes as kids do make mistakes, but sometimes kids kind of show who they are at a very young age.
Oh, yes. That little demon spirit is
that messy instigator spirit.
Oh man, that's funny.
But their dialogue is so cute because at the end when they, confess their love for one another. Actually, he just says, "I love you." She didn't say anything. So I love that part too. Because
are you going to break my heart, Covey?
Yes. And she's like, what do you put in a contract in a real relationship? And he was like, you got to trust.
Beautiful. Insane.
Big smile across the board. That's what I put at the end of that. My notes on that. Just smiles and cuddles.
It was so cute. Like I said, this is a movie I go back to all the time. I sometimes watch this to go to sleep. Like, it's definitely a go-to for me in the rom-com genre.
Yes. Okay. P.S. I still love you. So Laura Jean and Peter Kavinsky are a full-fledged couple.
Officially official.
Mind you, this also plays into like typical rom-com tropes. You know, he's the popular guy in school, right? So you have this now shy girl, but who's super cute, super stylish. So why is she not popular? I don't understand. With the jock, right?
How normal people.
Thank you. And they go on their first date, and she is worried about how she's doing. And the overarching theme for this particular movie is her insecurities Stealing her joy. Her insecurities are stealing her joy, Ashley.
That's a good point.
Essentially, she is second guessing everything in her relationship because her frenemy used to date her current boo. So she's just feeling like, am I better than what she was? I know there's a song like that, right? Like,
I'm sure there's many songs like that. There's that one country song I love by Little Big Town about like being obsessed with the other woman type of thing.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with that song.
Oh, and Chloe Halle has another woman song too.
Yeah, like, but they're the other woman. They're the other woman in that one.
That's true. That's true.
Wonder what she thinks of me.
So the big thing going on in school right now is volunteer work. And the first, it's not an issue, but they decide to do different volunteer work. So he wants to do Oakwood and she wants to do Belleville. Well, Belleville is the old folks home, and her older sister had done it, and she heard great things about it, and she felt like it was better on a college application.
Right.
So she decided to go with that. And again, I'm very happy that she decided to do that instead of following her boyfriend everywhere, because we'll get into this a little bit later, but I'm a strong proponent of girls, live your life. Do not follow a boyfriend nowhere, ever. And honestly, if he goes to a school you want to, go to another school. So that's my little...
Noted for her future daughter conversations. My little god baby, we'll see. You see how I keep throwing that out there? Because I'm claiming her.
I come through, Ashley. Okay. So at Bellevue, first of all, before Bellevue, the movie essentially starts off and she gets a letter from John Ambrose, who essentially
rolling my eyes,
who is impressed by her complex feelings at such a young age, and he wants to know why she decided to send it now, and he ended it saying, "Yours, John Ambrose."
The recast of this character, because at the end of the first film, if you stay around after a little bit into the credits, John Ambrose is a different guy. He comes to the door. Kitty sees him, sees the letter. She calls for Laura Jean. Suddenly, in film 2, we have a whole different man.
Yes.
Diversity casting. Not to be funny, but that is the case.
But I love Jordan Fisher.
I get that, but it threw me because if you're going to have a trilogy and you're aware you're going to have a trilogy,
they weren't aware of the success of the film. Because actually, let's keep things in perspective, okay? One of the things that, in terms of trends in movies, peak rom-com was early 2000. Then we went into this superhero universe, and we haven't been able to get out of it. So to see that Netflix was going to do an original rom-com was such a big deal, and it was done so well. And the reason why it did so well is because it was made well. You know what I mean? And it's like, people want other options than people in suits and magic flying out of their fingers. Okay, it's like, can we just have basic human drama, please?
Delora, I hear you, but if they did not feel that they were going to be able to do a complete trilogy, then y'all did not have enough confidence in yourselves, and you should have planned accordingly. Listen, I don't like inconsistencies, so you should have thought, if this is a trilogy, then the possibility of us getting picked up dictates that we need to be prepared. So you better have the correct version of John Ambrose and in the film 1 if you want me to not feel shocked and off-put when you get to film 2. That is how I feel. No, I remember when the casting decision was made, and I was like, wait, why would you make such an inconsistency? Like, I hate inconsistencies in films. It throws me off. Again, Jordan was lovely. I liked him in another Netflix film he was in too. It's not to negate
in Hamilton on Broadway.
Well, no wonder you love him so much. It's
and Dancing with the Stars.
It's not to take away from that
actor. He hasn't been on that bandwagon for long. He was also on Dancing with the Stars.
And I'm sure he did his thing because he is very musically inclined.
He's extremely talented.
It is not to take away from that man. Jordan, do your thing. My point is, they should have prepared better. The filmmakers, the producers, whatever, we should have prepared better for the idea that this is going to get picked up, because don't throw me off with these inconsistencies. Because then I don't root for John the way I could have. That's all.
Ashley, I also want to mention that, again, the first film came out in 2018, did extremely well. Then they decided to do the final 2 books, and they filmed those 2 films together at the same time.
Back to back, right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, guess who's at Bellevue? John Ambrose. So there's literally only 2 students there volunteering, and it's Laura Jean and John Ambrose, and he's feeling her. He is just wanting to get to know her. He's letting her know that he always has had feelings for her. I have to admit, one of my favorite characters in this film is Stormy, who is a woman who is at the home that Margot got to spend some time with and told Laura Jean about.
She was
I feel
a star.
like I didn't get enough of her, but some backstory. She was not just a flight attendant. She was a Pan Am stewardess. Okay. The showgirls of the sky.
She was a star, and she had the most fabulous room in an old folks home I've ever seen.
Honestly, it was gigantic.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was VIP.
Gigantic. Okay. And so with the introduction of John Ambrose, we have a love triangle because Ashley, guess what? She didn't tell him that she had a new boo.
That was a little shady.
That omission of the truth.
She was a little shady.
It was really bad. And so much so that they decided to do some reminiscing, because the reason why he's not in the circle anymore is because his family moved away. And they decide to go to this old tree house that's going to be tore down and dig up some old time capsule, right? And that entire scene was so awkward because it is obvious that John has feelings for Laura Jean, and Peter keeps trying to step up as a boyfriend. Really quick, one of the things that I loved about Peter, especially from the first film, which made him so endearing, was he was really showing her the ropes of how to have a popular teenage relationship. Like, he was like, okay, put my face as your home page. You know what I mean? He knew the emojis. You had to give the Instagram posts.
Laura Jean had never been in a relationship. She was a virgin. You know, yes. Peter is her first boyfriend, first everything for the most part. So it makes total sense. But this scene was so cringy to me because to me, both Laura Jean and Peter were tripping, right? Because Peter had invited Jen. His ex, even though Laura Jean said, no, we're not inviting Jen, right?
Yes.
And then Laura Jean up here acting like she went with Peter. Everything John says, yeah, sure. Yes, John, you brought the pizza. Great. Yes, we can clean up.
Yep. The pizza was a big point of contention because Peter was like, I could have brought the pizza. I could have brought the pizza.
Delora, I literally have in my notes, the fuck? Like, I just don't understand. Why you're acting like this, Laura Jean?
First of all, Kitty told her about herself before they even showed up because Kitty was like, Peter likes caramel cupcakes.
She sure did. Who you making this shit for? Who you making this shit for? That ain't what our man likes.
Oh my gosh.
The real MVP, Miss Kitty, every time.
Every time. And so honestly, a lot of stuff was going on, so much so because Laura Jean had already told Peter that John Ambrose wrote her back. Peter was already in his feelings. He even said, for a girl who's never had a boyfriend, you know how to, play
with a guy's feelings, girl.
Play with a man's feelings. And so the omission in both of their camps led to them breaking up. And it was so sad. And here's the field trip, okay? They go to a field trip to the Portland Aquarium, and she gives him back the necklace that he gave her for Valentine's Day.
Yo, this scene broke my whole heart. Broke my whole heart.
Can we talk about how gorgeous that scene was, by the way? That blue and those jellyfish, the golden color.
Like I said, the color palette was beautiful. But it was just so heartbreaking. Like, Laura Jean, why would you think you have to give back a gift that this man gave you? And he was so struck by the question.
Yes.
That he was just like, sure. I
Oh my
guess.
goodness. Oh, and mind you, his gift for her for Valentine's Day was that necklace and a poem that she thought was original, but it was not. It was a remix.
Peter can't be everything, okay? This man is cute. He's popular. He's charming. He's an athlete. He can't also be a poet, can he? Damn.
I mean, just tell her that it wasn't original though, because
But imagine, like, she was so excited, and he was just like, yeah, sure. You know, I'm not going to tell you this is an Edgar Allan Poe original. I'm going to let you enjoy this moment.
And so, really quick, the reason why Peter and Laura Jean breaks up is because of Peter and Jen. She finds out that from film 1, he was actually waiting for Jen. And because she showed up, Jen took the video and posted it, and he omitted that to Laura Jean. That is worth breaking up over.
Yes, it is. The situation with Jen, I have in my notes, was totally out of hand. It was inappropriate. I would not want to constantly have to look over my shoulder and worry about Jen. It comes down to communication. I feel like these moments would not have been so severe had Peter communicated with his girlfriend about what was going on.
Exactly. Ashley, do you feel like girl code rules apply with a frenemy?
In terms of Laura Jean not messing with Peter because of Jen?
Yes.
No, absolutely not. At that point, we're not cool. Jen is a bitch in every sense of the word when it comes to Laura Jean. She has bullied her. She's released a sex tape that wasn't really a sex tape. She's done a lot of shenanigans up to this point. So no, I do not feel like there needs to be any loyalty there. I don't feel like Laura Jean needed to have any conversations with her. And at this point, Jen and Peter are being disrespectful towards Laura Jean.
Yes, because he showed up to her house because she was sad. And you know, what's the point of you being with her if he's going to be jumping up beck and call whenever Jen is having a hard time? Like, again, I know she is going through a hard time, but you are no longer her man.
Exactly. And it's not to say y'all can't be friends. It's just the level of closeness at that point had become inappropriate, right?
Yes. Yes.
You can be friends, but hey, I got you. Me and Laura Jean will be over there shortly.
Again, mind you, from the first scene, he's still visiting her after we have our special moments. Like, it just kind of feels like it kept coming up, you know? The last question I have for you, Ashley, though, about Laura Jean specifically as it relates to Jen, did you feel like her insecurities were valid?
Laura Jean's
or do you feel like her insecurities were stealing her joy?
I felt that they were valid, but I'm glad that she reached a point where she realized that the way that she feels is only controlled by herself. And I think that was very mature of Laura Jean, because that's something most of us probably don't really get to for a little while. Yeah, to not let other people be the catalyst for stealing your joy, to your point, or dictating how you feel. You know, nobody can force your reactions to things. You know what I'm saying? So Laura Jean had to take that power back because she was still so insecure and wondering about the dynamic between Jen and Peter, and comparing herself and wondering, or do you miss sex? You were getting sex with Jen. Y'all were having sex all the time.
That interaction was so hilarious to me. I was like, you really gonna say this to your boyfriend? But honestly, I also loved it because honestly, that would be me in a relationship. I am that blunt. Like, yo.
No, absolutely. Especially when you're still a virgin and you're starting to date like the most popular boy in school. Because we see on Valentine's Day when all them damn cards fell out this man's locker.
Girls' thirst did not stop because Laura Jean was dating him.
I mean, when I tell you, in high school, I probably would have been getting into some fights because I just could not imagine dating someone who was that lusted after.
I'm not a fighter, but
I'm not a fighter either. I just feel like something would have come to a head for me because I'm a very passionate person. So something would have come to a head for me.
But I felt her and her insecurity because I did not, like her cousin said during the Korean New Year. She's like, oh, I thought you were no dating till college kind of girl. Yeah, that was me. Okay. And so for me, I kind of get it just a little bit, but I also felt like she was definitely overthinking things. but that's common for teenage girls. So
absolutely, let's keep that in mind. They're teenagers.
Yes. Okay, so the movie wraps up by Laura Jean actually coming to terms with Jen. This I thought was a unique perspective because I do feel like her having a real heart-to-heart was necessary because it's obvious that Peter is always going to have some type of connection to Jen in some kind of way, right? Mm-hmm. So the only way Laura Jean and Peter to move forward is for her to actually clear the way. Again, this is very big of her as well.
Yeah, very mature.
And the girls have heart-to-heart. They essentially... Jen confessed to Laura Jean that Peter is absolutely obsessed with you, so you have nothing to worry about, but I'm going through some things, and he's essentially home base for her. What did you think about this interaction?
I thought, like I said, it was very mature of Laura Jean. I'm glad that they were able to clear the air because you could tell that there was still some level of like pain that Jen was carrying, like I said, from issues that happened back in middle school. And I think sometimes going directly to the source of a problem is the best solution. And in this case, Jen was the problem. So let's hash it out. Let me get a better understanding of what this problem was or what it is that you feel like you need to lean on Peter for, what have you. And let's not forget that they were once best friends, right? And that was never resolved. Yes. So to have a better understanding of, how Jen felt, how Laura Jean felt about the dissolution of their friendship beyond the relationship with Peter, just on a woman-to-woman basis, I thought was a beautiful thing.
Yes. And so mind you, there's a big dance at Bellevue. And at this point, Laura Jean is still single and she's kind of moping around, but she's getting closure. And Stormy pulls out this gorgeous dress for her to wear to the dance. And she danced with John Ambrose. They go outside. It's snowing in Portland and they make snow angels and they share a kiss. And in that kiss, she just realized that she misses Peter. Wow, right?
Yikes.
When you kiss somebody and you wish they were someone else, that would be rough for John Ambrose. So I was a little harsh on John when we did the transition and I did feel some type of way. But in this moment, I felt so bad for him because throughout this film, he's talking about feeling second fiddle to Peter when they were growing up. His entire life.
Yeah, feeling like girls were only liking him because he was friends with Peter. So then to get rejected by Laura Jean for Peter?
Yes. But we don't even get his reaction.
We don't.
Again, he was so sweet throughout this whole movie. I love the scene after the awkward time capsule event. He's playing on the piano and he's like, the only reason why people call me John Ambrose is because you called me that first. And I told people to call me that.
Because we both went by our first and middle names.
Oh my gosh. So
that was very endearing. Sweet. It was very endearing.
And honestly, he would have been more on her level if she hadn't done the whole arrangement with Peter, frankly.
I mean, for sure. I told you this on previous recaps. I love when it is a hard choice, right? When the other man or the other person in this love triangle is exceptional in and of themselves. And John Ambrose was. So John is about to find him a boo. And hey, don't make me come through this television, okay?
But Ashley,
wonderful.
My favorite line is coming up. So Laura Jean runs and she's like, you know what? Can I give you your dress tomorrow? She tells this to Stormy. Sunny Stormy.
Same thing.
And she was like, no, because it's yours. Oh, that was so sweet. But soon as she leaves, walks out the door, it's Peter Kavinsky. He said, I know you hate driving in the snow, so I decided to come. Ashley, he said, break my heart into 1,000 pieces. Lord, oh my God.
The way you're reading this.
Leave me alone, Ashley. I love this part.
No, it was the thoughtfulness. It was so thoughtful. It was beautiful. I love Peter, and I think throughout this film, that was one thing that bothered me, is that you got this other perspective, even from John, of like, well, Peter's actually a little bit of a dick. You know, he's
Josh
the last piece of
he's
pizza.
A douche from season 1.
Well, episode 1 or movie 1. Look, we're both saying it now. Season 1, episode 1. Film 1, but Josh's feedback wasn't as valuable to me as John's, because they weren't friends, right?
True.
I thought Josh was like a hater, whereas John is like, well, we were friends, and listen, he's just not a very empathetic or like aware person, because he would always take the last slice of pizza, this and that. I love this moment too, because to me it revalidates the fact that, listen, Peter is a great guy.
He really loves Laura Jean.
He's a catch.
He sure is. And she is too, which is the most important part.
Yes, she is. As if that's in question. No, Laura Jean out here playing the field. She
sure is living her best life.
She had some options.
So the thing about the end of this movie, I was under the assumption they had sex in this treehouse. Did you think that?
No.
Well, the reason why I thought so is because they see the treehouse being torn down, but the sun is rising and they're wearing the same clothes.
I think they just came over there, drove over there after he picked her up, just because they knew it was the day that it was getting torn down. And maybe reading the books informs that a little bit more for me than I recall, because I remember how the loss of virginity is supposed to go down, and that's not it. So
and then the other part was they had this cute kissing scene, but then they kind of started floating in the air, which I thought was very interesting. I'm like, oh, they're on cloud 9. So
exactly, we're back together. Oh, let the fireworks of rom-coms, like the end of Crazy Rich Asians, go off. You know,
exactly. All right, Ashley, our final film, Always and Forever. So one of the things that I love absolutely in the beginning was an international trip. Yes. They are in Seoul, Korea.
Visually stunning, right?
Stunning. I never thought I wanted to go to Korea until I saw some of these shots, okay? They are on spring break. The family is together, including Trina. That's one thing that I did not mention in film 2. We are introduced to Trina, who is the new neighbor, and she's their dad's new boo. So she's more than boo, because he asks the girls, or tells the girls, that he's interested in proposing to her. So that's pretty major. We are now in senior year for Laura Jean and Peter, and they are talking about going to Stanford. He is going to go for lacrosse. She's going to go for English lit. It's supposed to be a match made in heaven. Ashley, for me, I was like, red flag number 1. Okay, we do not make plans to go to school with your boyfriend in high school. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, situational for me, right? Like, I can't say what I think is best for any one particular person, but the theme of this movie dictated to me, and of the books, that, you know, it wasn't going to work out. Margot dumped her boyfriend when she was going to college. Margot is taking the advice of their mother, who said, never go to college with a boyfriend, you know? And
Always.
So you get the idea that
I'm 100% on that bandwagon.
Yeah, that there's this desire of like, you need to spread your wings. And to your point, Laura, the reason why I feel like, again, I'll say it's situational, because I think to each their own, and I don't want to pressure somebody to go down a path that's not for them. But I'll say this, there's so much growth that happens as a human being, that to make certain life choices based off of a moment in time and based off of this one relationship.
Is school?
College is a time of discovery, not only intellectually, but of oneself.
Just college, your 20s.
Exactly. Exactly. And as someone who was in a very serious relationship in my early 20s, I can tell you, I do not advise making substantial life decisions in that era. But again, to each their own. We've been rooting for this couple up until this point. So I think you know how I feel, and how I said on Normal People, I feel about happily ever afters. You want to root for this couple, because I'm an American, as you always like to tell me. So,
well, the other thing I'm going to say to that is, I feel like Okay, I was a resident advisor for 3 years. 3 out of the 4 years I was in college, and most of my time was with freshmen. And I can tell you that friends don't even make it from semester 1 to semester 2.
Right.
Let alone boyfriends and girlfriends. And if they do, they have the most difficult time because they don't know how to grow together. And I think
Yes.
when it comes to long-term relationships, and this goes for anybody, you have to grow with the person, especially a woman. And I say that to say men are pretty set. Women go through all types of things. And I'm not saying that to make our sex sound crazy or anything like that, but women find themselves in different phases of our lives because we realize that the societal norms for us is all bullshit. So
Speak on that in Women's History Month, boo. Speak on that. Speak on that.
When you are with a woman, you need to give her space to grow and find herself and find her voice.
Absolutely. And I would even say, I don't even think men are set, because I think this is when a certain level of maturity starts to develop. Both men and women, once you leave the security of your parents' home, once you enter into a phase of, oh my God, I have independence. I have to figure out who it is that I am. I have to figure out what it is that I want to do. There is an overarching sense of not only growth, but panic. Like, you are making decisions that are fundamental to who you will become.
Yes.
So yes, advisable, Delora, to take the time out, baby, to figure it out. But this is a rom-com.
It is. And that's why I was conflicted as an audience member, because I'm just like, oh, they are so cute, but girl, live your life. All right. Kitty meets a boy.
Lord Jesus. I didn't like it. I don't want her to grow up. I love my little kitty. Can I say I've never wanted a little sister until Kitty? I was like, oh, I want you.
And it was so cute because when they came home from Seoul, Peter was there to surprise them. He just meshed so well with their family. It's so cute and darling.
And Kitty ran into his arms first.
Yes. Yes, but that's real. You really want your family to love who you're with, right?
Yes, that's the hope. That's the dream.
And I love that they talk. I love sometimes when rom-coms or even comedies, they kind of talk about themselves in the fact that it's like, oh, well, we don't have a meet cute and we don't have a song or an anniversary. And so this is important because they are essentially on a search for their song throughout the film. And so we also get another character in this film. Peter's dad becomes a more prevalent character because...
Was not the case in the books, by the way. He never made a comeback.
Really?
Never did.
Good to know. I did not read the books. So basically, Peter's very resentful because his father's no longer in his life or his mom's life. And it's like, hey, you want to come talk to me when I'm on my way out the door, successful, going to Stanford. And
you have a whole nother family, sir.
Exactly.
You replaced us.
And so the big themes for this particular movie, college acceptance, right? Mm-hmm. It's senior year, so we're talking about college acceptance and prom. Those are the two big things going on in Laura Jean's and Peter Kavinsky's life. Laura Jean doesn't get into Stanford, Ashley.
Yikes.
And again, her in this omission of the truth. Peter is on cloud 9 thinking they're going to be going. And she keeps trying to find the best way to tell him, hey, guess what? I'm not. But in the meantime, she did get accepted to Berkeley. The school, again, has a major trip. They go to New York City, literally across the country. Can you imagine?
That would have been so dope as a senior trip in high school.
I know, but I'm like, who does this? I did not do that for my senior trip.
We didn't have a senior trip, so I don't know nothing about it.
We didn't have one either. I actually went with my band. You know, I'm a band person, of course. We went to the Bahamas. We went on a cruise.
Ooh, by Atlanta. Okay, budgets.
Yes,
budgets.
Yes. Well, my band director did not play. He was like, "We going places, okay?"
Listen,
but They have this epic trip in New York. They actually don't get a chance to hang out with each other because of their names.
That was so lame. By
was.
senior year, do not be splitting us up in alphabetical order. This is not elementary school.
Exactly. But honestly, I think that might have been the best thing that happened to Laura Jean, because guess what? She got a chance to fall in love with the city.
She sure did.
So we know that Genevieve is going to NYU, so much so that apparently she's telling people it all the time. And so her and Chris got a chance to get a taste of college life. One of the things that I also love about rom-coms is how sanitized they do cities like New York City.
Because New York is gross. Sorry to New Yorkers who maybe listen to this podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
But the treatment of making it seem like it's this romantic, I
putting
think,
a couch on the subway.
I think that the romance of and the love of New York City across the board in film has always been interesting to me. And maybe it's because I don't share it. When I go to New York, I feel frantic. I feel rushed. My nerves are shot. So I'm always like, y'all romance this city so much.
So much. But I think it's because it's a hub of the creatives. I mean, you have the Harlem Renaissance, where Black people are just thriving, and then all the great directors and authors or what have you.
And I get it, but the city itself is gross. I remember last time I went, there was stuff falling down in my hair. I was like, what is going on?
Yo. And I hear never go in summer because it's just hot as hell.
And that's when I've been twice, was in the summer. Girl.
So she falls in love with the city, and it was completely unexpected to her, because the goal was to go to UC Berkeley for a year and they transfer over to Stanford so they can live their perfect life together. One of the things that I did love and found really endearing was when she told him that she didn't get in. He had, a stunned look on his face, but then he asked, "Are you okay?" And I'm like,
yo,
sir, thank you.
They have them as being so emotionally evolved. I have to be honest. They behave in ways that people even our age and beyond do not respond in real life. It's that ability to not think of just yourself in a moment and to have that initial reaction be the reaction, right? Because in this moment, as Peter, it's entirely justified if he's crushed.
Yeah. And I'm actually going a little bit out of order, but this is all New York that I'm talking about. Laura Jean is just really contemplating whether or not she wants to go to NYU. And she does the whole Google search thing, and it takes a day and 18 hours to get from, I think she did it from Stanford to NYU.
So across the country, baby.
Across the country. And it's so funny because in school she saw Jen and she was like, "Hey, should I go?" And she was like, "Sis, I'm not making that decision for you."
I think it's nice too that we have this movie to show the development back of Jen and Laura Jean's friendship, because this is now the first film where Jen is nice. Jen is being so nice and supportive.
Yes. Even especially when she was in New York, she didn't have to show her and Chris around.
Absolutely
not. And
not.
one of the things I loved about Chris really quick is the fact that, of course, she would be taking a gap year. I'm
still upset with Chris for bringing a damn chest. Laura Jean was better than me because I'm not carrying no chest through the city or to the hotel.
Was a good friend, because I think it was in movie 2 when she asked her about essentially Peter and Laura Jean's sex life. She was like, "Be able to rev up your own engine before someone comes looking under your hood." I'm like, that is a good girlfriend right there.
No, Chris is a real one. I love Chris. I would have just said, "Girl, I'm gonna need you to get a suitcase because I'm not carrying this chest." But otherwise, Chris is like, she should have been born in the 70s. I love Chris.
Love her. Definitely an old soul for sure. So Laura Jean's dad noticed that she's having a hard time coming to grips with making a decision over college. And again, I love his conversation with her too. He's like, "You have to stay true to yourself." And he's like, "You can't save this relationship without growing."
Yeah, by not growing, right?
Without growing. Yes. And I thought that was That was beautiful. And so we go to this diner and she tells Peter that she's going to NYU. And again, he kind of takes it a little bit too well. And we see distance forming between them, specifically when they go to prom. Can I say again, Laura Jean is such a beauty. I have loved all of her dress moments. I think my favorite dress moment though was from film 2, that blue ruffle dress, but her prom dress was so lovely.
Yeah, I love the blue dress so much. I was upset when she fell in the snow into the snow angel. I said, that may be couture. I'm gonna need you to get up.
Same. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, aren't you supposed to give this back to Stormy though? Like,
and what brand are we playing in the snow in? Okay,
girl, exactly. But after prom, Laura Jean is essentially feeling pressured that her and Peter needs to make some type of connection, because she made this decision to be far away, to derive from their plans. And it really blows up in her face, so much so that they break up, Ashley.
Peter dumps her.
What do you think about that?
I mean, saw it coming, right? Like,
yeah.
If you suddenly decide, hey, I'm about to go across the country, I agree with Peter. And like, I don't want to wait for this to happen. You just want to have sex with me, to feel close to me. It felt to me also like she was saying goodbye. You're suddenly giving me this box with all these memories.
Yes.
You want to have sex. So kind of like put the nail in the coffin of our relationship. Like, I agree with him. And to be honest, I had in my notes, like, would I be angry? Because I think, especially because of what Peter was going through with his father, he had just talked about that there was nothing worse than not being chosen.
Yes.
And this is a culmination of that, right? Of like, hey, we had a whole plan. Now you're choosing NYU over me. Obviously, we have our thoughts and feelings about that. But in that moment, if I were Peter, I would have been crushed.
Yes. I think that's probably why they incorporated the father coming back in his life for the film, so it can probably serve as an added pressure point, right?
And also give you a better perspective of how Peter feels.
Yes.
Because it's not a story about Peter, it's about Laura Jean.
Exactly. Well, the wedding happens and there's no Peter. And that actually made me really, really sad, because I know he would have had such a great time there with the family. But I love at that point in the movie, Laura Jean, the narrative conversation was, is this what it's like to be an adult, to have all these different emotions, to be so happy and yet so sad all at the same time?
Valid, girl. You gotta move through it all.
Move through. Amen. And Ashley, the wedding is over, and Kitty, being the grandmaster of this entire series,
yes,
tells Laura Jean that she has to get something from the tent. And she's like, oh, I'll just get it in the morning. She's like, no, go get it tonight. Have a good night, Laura Jean. She goes out there and she finds the yearbook. So previously they had given each other their yearbook to write in, and Peter wrote her a new contract, Ashley.
So sweet.
But in that contract, he essentially started by telling the story of their meet cute and how they were. Go ahead.
Side note, I love that little Claudia from the Babysitters Club is young Laura Jean throughout these flashbacks.
Yes,
she was so cute. So cute.
Ashley, when I tell you, I was like, why does this little girl look so familiar?
Yes.
To me?
If you guys have not watched the Babysitters Club on
it's
Netflix,
so good.
That is little Claudia.
We are women in our 30s and we watched that entire series in like
nostalgia.
A weekend. Did we both watch it like a weekend?
Me, you, and Shamika all binged it. Yes, it was so cute.
So cute. Thank you, Ashley, for bringing that up. And so basically their meet cute was, they were what, 6th or 7th grade? And her hair got stuck in her chair and he helped her and she turned around and smiled at him and he said, my heart flipped upside down. And fun note, the teacher in that assembly is the great author of the novels.
That was her
Ginny.
second cameo. She had a
She
cameo in the
actually was
second
in all
film.
3 films.
Oh, I didn't see her in the first one, but I caught her in the
Yes.
second one. So
Yes, the second one, she was the teacher during the cafeteria during Valentine's Day, and in the first one, she was the teacher at the homecoming dance with Laura Jean and Lucas.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and he essentially said that if we're going to be together forever, 4 years of college isn't a big deal, and he ends their contract with love always and forever. Oh, that was so sweet. And so they find their song, the beginning, middle, and end, which is us. First of all, I love those type of songs, so I was a sucker for it. Did you like their song?
I liked it. Yeah, I agreed with him though at first when she was like, "Hey, I found our song." He was like, "Our song has to be shared. Like it has to be a moment together.
It has to be a moment."
Yeah.
And honestly, I felt like, yeah, for her, she was into it because she was falling in love with New York,
the city, not with Peter, right? Oh, but I felt it. Like, but ma'am, it's our couple song, right?
Yeah. They go to the bedroom and I was like, yo, what's going on here? But I forgot that her dad and his new wife weren't there because they had the Sparkle send-off. So they are together for the first time.
Biblically,
they got to know each other. And the ending, Ashley, this is the part where, so his note to her for the contract made me super emotional, but the part that had me crying was at the very end when we have the montage of them, finishing up high school, getting ready for college, and she talks in the narrator, Laura Jean, essentially says, she's like, what's 3,000 miles? She's like, you know what 3,000 miles apart is good for? Writing love letters. I got chills, Ashley. That was so well done. To me, the movie overall was really slow, but I felt like they were able to tie a very neat bow for the series.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I was just going to say, I remember telling you that I thought I was mistaken about in the book. She goes to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and that is accurate. In the books, their agreement was to go to the University of Virginia, and then she goes and visits North Carolina and wants to become a Tar Heel. So just, it's just.
So where are they originally? Are they in Portland in the book?
So they're not. I can't remember where they live at in the books, but geographically, obviously, these things change because of what made the most sense. But the books wrap up in, I believe, a similar way, right? Where it's kind of ambiguous. We don't know. Inevitably, as the audience, I hope that maybe they're able to last on and love each other, but realistically and pessimistically, I think this is a beautiful high school romance that is going to see its conclusion.
Yeah, I thought it was beautifully done in the sense of I didn't want them to end in a way that was negative or hurtful. I love how they're doing it in a loving kind of way. Like there's a level of understanding between them. It's like it's not a rejection of you. It is
it's life. It's
an acceptance of myself. Because again, she would not have been able to live with herself if she didn't follow her heart in that way.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very important for every young woman. So that's why I'm very against girls following boys. It's like, girl, make up your own mind. Okay.
Live your best life.
Exactly. So that's the end of last thing. Any other favorite lines or characters? I'm curious.
I think my favorites were Kitty and Lucas. I mean, Lucas's friendship throughout all three, he really helped to get Laura Jean out of her own way in certain times and certain scenes. And he was just very funny. I loved their friendship and dynamic. And Kitty, as I said, was the real MVP. So,
absolutely.
I mean, that's really all I've got. I'm glad that the entire trilogy was able to be made. Very enjoyable films, and hats off to Lana because I think she's a star.
She's absolutely a star. All right. So that concludes our recap.
Nice. Hidden gems time, Delora.
All right, go first. Go first, Ashley.
All right, so all mine are sticking with Netflix. These are all top 10, so it's not exactly hidden, but I just enjoyed all of these. So I just wanted to give them a quick shout out. Not sure if any of these will eventually be a recap, but for now, they're hidden gems. Firefly Lane, first up, starring Katherine Heigl and Sarah Chalk. Love this show.
On my list.
Bonded with my mom heavily over this show. It's really about the breadth of these two women's friendships from very, like high school age to adulthood, and all the pitfalls that go with just growing up and family and all of that. I thought it was very well done. It left on a cliffhanger, so I'm looking forward to season 2. But again, highly enjoyable. This is basically Katherine Heigl's comeback, honestly, because she has not been able to really get anything off the ground in a long time. So
girl, yeah,
very enjoyable. Go ahead and binge that one time. Ginny and Georgia on Netflix. This was a recent binge. I think it was last weekend. I may have watched all
you
of
did
these.
It quickly.
Yeah,
yes.
These 10 episodes. Loved it. This was one that I thought I knew what it was going to be, but it was darker than I anticipated. And because of that, especially, I was pleasantly surprised. Again, because of all the stuff we watch, Delora, sometimes it's rare to surprise us. You know what I mean? Like to take us for a little ride. So I enjoyed that aspect. I know this recently landed in some hot water because of a Taylor Swift joke, but do not let that deter you guys from enjoying the series. That's one joke that supposedly people feel some type of way about in an entire 10 episode season. So I still highly recommend Ginny and Georgia. Last one, Behind Her Eyes on Netflix. Laura, I finished this last night and I did not sleep well, but I did not sleep well because I was watching this at like 1 a.m. Not because the show was not good, but it ended on such a note that's shocking for most audience members. And I love a good ending. The best thrillers have a great unexpected ending, and this is no exception. The star of this film, I think she did an exceptional job. I look forward to seeing her in future projects. So Behind Her Eyes on Netflix, guys, check out.
I'm nervous. I'm real nervous.
Don't be nervous. I think you're going to enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it. It's very psychologically intense.
And apparently it's not as scary then, because like the way people talk about it, again, no spoilers, but I assume that it's scary, but you don't like scary stuff. So if you are able to get through it,
it's not scary. It's just a thriller, right? It's just a psychological element to it that is intriguing. So I will say that. But those are my 3 hidden gems. What are yours?
All right, my hidden gems this week are also Netflix. So
Netflix, where are you listening? Because we do a lot for you.
Yeah. So they are all in the realm of rom-coms. Love guaranteed. It is starring
Rachel Lee Cook
and Damon Wayans Jr. My fave. This is a PG rom-com, and it still gives you the feels, even though they are not doing anything crazy. Ashley, you know this, and I'll reiterate this for the podcast. I'm a lover of all types of romance rom-coms. And honestly, you don't have to get down and dirty like Outlander or Normal People for me to enjoy, or Bridgerton. Like, honestly, sometimes, and we said this before, the unspoken, the glances across the room, it could do it for me too. And this is no exception, okay?
And fun fact, guys, this was our test podcast. We did Love Guaranteed.
It may never see the light of day.
Yes. Shout out to them early days, baby.
And then my second rom-com is Kissing Booth. So it's another teen drama. This one is fine. It's not as good as To All the Boys I Loved Before, but it's also not bad.
Well, I love the first movie. I liked a lot.
The first movie I liked. Yes. And so, and then not really going to be a hidden gem, but I want to remind everyone that Oprah Sit Down with Meghan and Harry is this Sunday at at 7 on CBS. Okay, so
Yo, if there's anybody who can bring out the most tea, it is Oprah Winfrey. So
2 hours worth, Ashley.
we're going to be glued, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it next week. So
yes.
On that note, I know we went a little long today, guys, but I hope you enjoyed this. If you have not watched this trilogy of To All the Boys I Love before, check it out. It's so delightful. You know, if you're looking for something that'll kind of lift your spirits up a little bit, it is lovely. Next week, we're doing Coming to America 2 is the plan. So we're sticking with, kind of the lighthearted. This will be a comedy, obviously. We'll see if the second in the legacy of Coming to America is as good as the first. I'm looking forward to watching it. So, Delora, till next week, darling.
Yes, ma'am. Talk to you soon. Love you,
See
girl.
ya. Love you too, guys. Be blessed.